Hello and welcome back to the CCI platform. My name is Liam Gartland, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the founder and producer of the Gradfest. And to find out more about the Gradfest, you can visit www.thegradfest.co.uk. We currently have a show that opened last night at the Garden Theatre in London called Next Thing You Know, and that contains 4 amazingly talented graduates who are from the 2020 graduating year. And it's really lovely to see these fresh graduates have such a great opportunity and a chance to showcase their talents. But talking about talent, we are now on a Q&A with Hayley Tamaddon. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. So yeah, how nice is it to be on here and ask some questions and be, give us some answers, should I say?
You ask me whatever you want, I'm going to answer it.
Fabulous. So for those who are watching, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that it enables you to comment on the sides, and we will ask any questions that you have to ask. We will get them answered. So yeah, tell us a bit about yourself, kind of how you got to where you are today.
Wow. Hard work. I started as a kid, at 3 years old. I started doing baby ballet, and my mum said it's all I ever wanted to do. I just wanted to perform wherever I was. I used to line up the old ladies on the park bench in the park and tap dance for them all, and they all gave me 10p a turn. So I literally started off doing this really, really young. And when I got to about 12, my mom said, if you're serious about this and you want to do it as a career, then we need to think about sending you to a performing arts school, maybe, where you can get more lessons and things like that. And that's what happened. I ended up going to Phil Winston's theatre school in Blackpool. And then at 16, I went to Lane Theatre Arts in London. And I did 3 years there, training in everything, acting, singing, the works, And yeah, and I'm just lucky that I didn't leave college with a job. I wasn't one of those kids that walked out with an agent. I literally had to graft and put in the hard work, and I did it myself, and went and got myself an agent and everything. So yeah, it wasn't easy, but I think that's the best way it could have been. I think sometimes when you're handed everything on a plate, you never really understand the true meaning of what it's like to work hard in this industry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. And I guess as well, because you had, like you said, from, the start of you wanting to do it, your kind of parents were so supportive of that, and your family, for you to, them to encourage you to go to stage school, from being such a young child, and I think that's important as well, is that the support kind of encourages you and makes you want to work harder, because you feel you want to make, people proud as well for kind of.
Yeah, I think it was mainly my mom that pushed me and was that encouraging part. My dad was terrified that that I'd just never make it and never have any money, and and I wouldn't be happy in life. But I think he'd have been so happy had I think once he said, open your own hair salon, I'll pay for everything, because I love doing hair and makeup and beauty and all of that. And that was kind of like a little, oh, maybe I should do something with that. And he said, I'll help you. It just don't go into dancing, because all I wanted to do was dance as a kid. And my mom was incredible. She just backed me the whole way. And then when I was 16 in my first year of college, I had the worst back injury happen within, I'd say, 4 months of being there. And it completely wiped me out. I was not allowed to dance for an entire year, and I just didn't know what I'd do with myself. And so I switched over to the musical theatre side of the course that we were doing. And I wasn't allowed to dance at all. And I strictly concentrated on singing and acting. And it was honestly the best thing that could have ever happened, was getting that back injury. Because I don't think I'd have done the things I've done had I have not been on that musical theatre course.
Yeah, completely. And that's the thing, everything kind of happens for a reason, as people believe. But in terms of what you were saying, it does, because, you've come out the other end, and if it wasn't for making that transition onto that other course, which you probably wouldn't have done if that didn't happen. You know, you wouldn't have had the now that you've had.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I had incredible teachers as well at college, and that really pushed me into doing the musical theatre and the TV stuff. And there wasn't in those days. I'm showing my age. In those days, in the 90s, the early 90s, there wasn't very much help with. We never really got taught anything to do with television in college. It was very much musical theatre. So even though I always wanted to act, I knew I wanted to act, the way that it seemed was that it would just be in musicals, you know. And after doing my first musical, I thought somehow I need to cross over into TV. It was so difficult. It's a lot easier now, but in those days you just didn't stand a chance. If you did
Yeah.
theatre, nobody took you really in television. Yeah, and that's another story, but yeah, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. I never ever wanted to stop doing it. It's in my blood. It really is.
So kind of let's start at the beginning. Like, you know, your training kind of at Lanes was very young. You know, you were at 16, and then what, you kind of finished when you were 19?
Yeah, so at 19, we all left college, and a lot of people in my year left with either an agent or a job. A lot of people actually got Fame the Musical before leaving college, because that's an audition that came up at the time, and a lot of the third years went for that audition, and I wasn't allowed. I was told not this time, and I thought, is it because I'm not good enough? Like, what is it? So when I ended college, I thought, right, well, I'll go for an open audition. Now, these days, open auditions, they exist still. They're rarer, but they do exist. Um, but again, in them days, in the 90s, you could turn up to an open audition and it would look like, you know, the films where they queue around the entire
Yeah.
theatre to get in. It was like that for any audition you went for. And Fame had come up, and I thought, I'm going to go. I'm just going to go and do it. So I walked in this room with probably, I don't know, 300 other girls. And I was so small. And I thought, I've got to stand at the front. I've just got to push my way to the front. And I did. And I was a tough little cookie. And I stood right on the front row, gave it my all. And they called me back that afternoon. And I thought, oh my God, I've got a recall. You know, that's amazing. And then after that second recall, they gave me a whole bunch of scripts, songs, everything. And I went away, and I think it was 2 nights, I had to learn whatever I could. They didn't tell me to learn it, but I learned every single word. And I went back and I went to the piano, and she went, oh, take the script. And I went, oh, no, it's all right, I've learned it. And she was like, what? You've learned everything we gave you? And I went, yeah, that's not what we're meant to do. And she went, well, yeah, but nobody ever does it. And I said, oh, yeah, I've learned it. I've learned all of it. And they couldn't quite believe it. And so, long story short, I ended up getting understudy to the 4 female lead roles and the 4 female ensemble, because I just proved that I was quick at learning things. So they thought, well, she'll learn all of it. So that was a big kind of thing for me. I was like, oh, right, that's what happens. And yeah, so my first ever musical was the UK tour and the West End version of Fame. And I understudied Carmen, Serena, and Mabel, and Lamb Chops, if anyone knows the musical, and all the 4 girl dancers as well. So big old first role, but wow, like the biggest learning curve ever.
So did you end up going on for most of them tracks?
Every single night I was on as somebody different. It was, I don't know if anybody's ever seen Fame. It's quite a physical show. It's quite demanding vocally if you were one of the singers and the dancers as well. And it pretty much turned out that almost every night I was on as somebody, especially in the West End. On the second night of the West End, the lead girl went off, and we'd not even had any understudy calls or anything, and they just threw me on. And I thought that night when they took me on, I thought, I love this. I'm thriving off not knowing what I'm doing, you know, being pulled left, right, and center. It was so thrilling. But what I did learn is the next job I do, I thought, I want my own role. I don't want to be an understudy because I think I will always be an understudy. And so the next couple of auditions I went to for different musicals, I kept getting offered understudy parts because they knew that, you know, that's what I could do. And so I kept saying no, and then eventually I got my own part in something, and from then on it kind of, yeah, that was it.
So
Oh,
how?
I was going to say, in terms of the agent thing, because I went for an open audition for this because I didn't have an agent. After my first lot of auditions, I again, this doesn't happen now, but I took my CV and pictures, which I had in a stack, around Soho, and I put them through every single agent's letterbox, and I knocked on their door and pressed their buzzers, and majority of them didn't answer, but a couple actually did, and one of the ones that answered were an agency called Success Agency, and I think they're still going. Two ladies called Elaine and Elena, and they let me come into their office. And I said, I've just had a recall for Fame, and it's gone really well, and I don't have an agent. And they said, okay, well, let us know how your next recall goes, and we'll talk again. And then I got offered the job, and I rang them and said, oh, I've got it. And they said, right, we'll take you on. And they were my agents for a good couple of years. You know, it was amazing, but I put in the graft.
Yeah, and that, you know, and you were, you know, you didn't have any fear by just turning up to the doors, and I think that's, you know, that's the way to do it. You can't kind of hold yourself back from doing it. You were worthy enough of getting it, and you
Yeah,
proved that you were.
there's a lot of that I find because I teach a lot now as well, and what I find is whether it's in teaching or with my friends, my own friends that come to me and say, do you think it's all right that I email this casting director or that I email this agent and ask for this, and I'm like, yes, what do you have to lose? You know, it's pointless emailing a casting director to say hello. It's
Yeah,
they're too busy to deal with that. But if you're in something, or if you've got some really good footage, you know, I always say to even if you have one scene on a show reel, that is better than having nothing at all. Give them something to see you do. Why not? What do you have to lose? But I think there's a lot of fear in this industry of annoying casting directors. Oh, I don't want to call them. I don't want to email them because it might annoy them. And I'm like, what? You're about to go on and do a lead role in a show, or you've got an episode coming out in a TV show, and you're not going to let some casting directors know to watch. Like,
yeah,
I find that bonkers, you know? So yeah, when I teach, that is one thing I say. Don't annoy them with, hi, just thought I'd say hello. No, they don't have time for that. But if you've got some footage or you're in something, you know, tell everyone.
yeah, completely, completely. And kind of now, you know, when you said about you kind of declined a few jobs because you were, you know, you wanted to kind of have your own role.
Yeah.
How did that kind of, how did you feel? Because there's a lot of pressure, I think, to like, especially now, to accept jobs because, you know, I feel like you might feel like you have to accept it because you've been lucky enough to get it.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Again, it comes with the not having any fear whatsoever when I was 19 years old. I mean, I had none, you know. I just knew what I wanted to do. And I think if you have a drive and you have a dream and you know I obviously knew I could do it because I'd been cast in a massive West End show. So I thought, well, if I'm capable of being someone's understudy, then I'm definitely capable of playing the part. So I think I just stuck with my guns. And it, you know, don't get me wrong, it was only a couple of shows that offered me ensemble with first cover, blah blah blah. Um, and I just thought, no, I've got to stand my ground here and just hold out a little bit for something that comes my way, which is my part. And it doesn't matter how small that is, because you've got to climb the ladder, you know. It's
Yeah,
great if you can go in right at the very top. That's amazing. But for me, it wasn't like that. For me, I knew I had to graft and had to climb and prove myself. And I think, you know, I did, I think.
And then kind of going on from that, you then went in as a leading lady into what musical was that you went into?
Oh my gosh, now you're testing me. After Fame, I think it was a musical called Boy Band. Or was that after Mamma Mia? I can't remember.
Either one.
Either one. I think it was Boy Band, and I played a really small role. There was only 3 girls in the show, but it was in the West End at the Gielgud Theatre, and I knew I wanted to do it. Again, to have a credit where I play a role. And so I did that, and then I did Mamma Mia, where I played again. There's only a couple of young girls in that. I played Lisa, and it was after that musical. That was 2001, I think. It was after that that I thought I actually didn't like the West End. I didn't really feel like I fit in, and I thought if I can't be here, I think I'd like to go on tour. But I'm from Blackpool, you know. I'm a proper northerner. I missed home. I missed my family. I didn't feel like I really fit in with that whole, I don't know what it is, a West End Wendy type thing. I don't know, but I didn't feel like I fit in. And so the next job I went for was a tour, and it was Boogie Nights, to go on tour with Boogie Nights, and I played the part of Trish, which was the kind of comedy lead girl, and I had an absolute ball, and it was just an amazing show. And then I realised how much I loved touring as well. And so when other tours came up, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'd love to do. And I didn't go back into the West End until recently, last year, when I did Everyone's Talking About Jamie. And so for that whole time, I was pretty much, yeah, out of the West End, almost, well, yeah, it was 20 years. Yeah.
And did you feel like, kind of going from that, 19-year-old who was seen for ensemble and things like that, and then going into the younger kind of casting bracket? And then did you feel that there got to a point where you was like, I don't know where I fit in musical theatre, I guess? Because I guess there's a point of like, you get to a point and you're like, okay, so I'm not an ensemble member. I'm not, that's not who I am, and then because you've now done Jamie, and that's completely different. And
I definitely knew I wasn't an ensemble member, and the ensemble work the hardest, I think, in any show. And then on top of that, you've got your understudies that work so hard, but I knew I wanted to be center of attention. I wanted to be the one in the middle of the stage on her own, with everyone looking at her while I acted or sang or did something. I just didn't want to be part of a group where I was lost. And, that's not me knocking anything. That's just me being the greedy little 19-year-old I was. I wanted to be the center of attention. And so the parts I then went for, I knew I was never going to be a dancer anymore after having my back injury. I mean, I winged the dancing a hell of a lot. It's all I've ever done. I can't believe I got away with it sometimes. But yeah, there was just a lot of parts that came up that were right for me. And still to this day, I think, I look at musicals and go, oh God, I'd love to play that role, or that's a part I've never played. And there's musicals I never got in that I auditioned for that are so desperate, like Cats. I was so desperate to be in Cats. And I went through one round of dance auditions, and of course was never going to get it. But there was loads of things that I wanted to do. I just knew that I needed to do some TV, and I was very, very late. I think I was 27 when I crossed over into telly, and that is pretty late. Yeah.
And how did you find that transition from kind of having all these musical theatre jobs on your CV to all of a sudden,
I knew that I went to classes, so I knew, because I'd had no training in TV, I had to go and train. So I did. I went to some classes at Spotlight, and in London, this brilliant guy who taught acting for screen, basically. From there, I knew that I had to bring it down because my face is like full of elastic and character. And I was just used to being on the stage all the time and, looking at people on telly and barely and nothing moves. And I was thinking, oh my God, I need to learn this. And so when it got to 2004, I did a musical called A Chorus Line at the Crucible in Sheffield. And it was that musical. I played Diana Morales, and I knew that was the show that was going to get me in telly, if anything was, because the part was it was such a role for an actor. And I had so much acting in it. And I just knew it was. So I wrote to a whole bunch of TV agents, and a bunch of casting directors as well, and said, this is what I'm doing. I am desperate to cross over now from theatre to TV. And I need an agent to do that who will guide me. And one agent in particular that I signed with, Narrow Road in Manchester, came to watch the show, and she signed me up. And also, when I was doing that show, the casting director from Emmerdale at the time, a lady called Sue Jackson, she came to see the show as well. And the agent I signed up with said, Sue Jackson from Emmerdale has been to see A Chorus Line and thought you were great and thinks that you'd be great in Emmerdale. And I was like, wow, okay. And she said, so it might not be now, but, in the next kind of few months. Anyway, the first kind of proper speaking bit on TV I did was in a TV show called The Royal. And after that, another lady took over casting at Emmerdale called Faye Styring, and they called me in and gave me an audition for Emmerdale to play a small role. But when I walked in the audition room, she looked at me and she went, oh my God, you look like a Dingle. You've got the same colouring as the Dingles. You've dressed. And I kind of thought, I went in thinking, I want to be a Dingle. That was the only family I wanted to be a part of. And I thought, if I go in dressed like that, maybe they might go, wow, you're a Dingle. And she did. And yeah, she said, listen, there's a role coming up for a new Dingle in the next few months. Can I bring you back for it? And that's what happened. And after 5 rounds of auditions and screen tests, I got the role of Delilah Dingle. And that was my first massive overnight changing life experience TV show. Yeah.
Fab. And that's, and that kind of goes to show what you said about writing to people and things like that, because if it wasn't for these people coming seeing you, and you would have never made that transition.
No,
a lot harder, because no one would have, you wouldn't have had the agent, and that casting director wouldn't have come, and things like that. And it is about grasping as much as you can.
I am a bit like that in life, I'm kind of like, if it's there, go for it. And that meant me leaving my agent that I was with, and signing with a new one that I knew could help me with TV. And that's difficult. Leaving an agent is difficult. You kind of create a bond with someone and then you've got to leave them. But it was the best decision I made in my life. And I stayed with Narrow Road for 7 years, until my kind of time ran out, and I moved again, and now I'm with a different agent. So yeah, I definitely would say, if you want something, you've got to go for it. You've write. What do you have to lose? I just wrote to everyone.
Yeah. And also, I think it's important, the research comes into it as well, and finding what's that niche that you want to hit.
Yeah.
Because you've experienced the musical theatre agents and the casting directors from that side, and then it's about researching who else is out there that's going to get you where you want to be on the other side, and get something.
And I didn't know anyone, and until today, there's so many casting directors in telly I've never met, because I came into it quite late. And I've also done 2 big soaps where I've been in the show for 2 or 3 years at a time. So there's so many casting directors that even now I write to and say, listen, we've never met, and I'd love to meet you and read for you. And this is my current show reel. This is what I'm in at the moment. And I often get a response back, which is wonderful. saying, you know, Hayley, we've never met, and it would be lovely to work with you, or, you know, thank you for sending me your show reel. And of course, not every casting director has the time to do that, but you never know when your picture might land on somebody's desk at the right time.
Yeah.
And that's you know, you send your CV, your headshot, and someone happens to be looking for a Persian girl, you know, who's 5'2", and there's my face, and well, you know, then I'm gonna get the job. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, be ballsy.
Yeah, completely. And that's the thing, you never know where it could land at what point, and everything kind of works its way into plan somehow. But it just sometimes it takes longer than others, and that kind of goes to say about what you said about going into TV later on. You know, if you went into TV earlier, it might not have been the same journey as what you have had.
Yeah, I mean, I never say that, oh, I wish this had happened, or I wish I'd done this, because I don't. You know, I've had the most, God, if it all ended tomorrow, I've had the most amazing career. I've done some incredible things. My problem, me personally, is I've never done enough. So when I've done something, I then ring my agent and I'm like, right, what's next? What can we do? And he's like, you do realize you've just played Roxy Hart in Chicago for a year? That's like one of the biggest roles ever. And I'm like, yeah, but I need something bigger now. And, you know, and I'm constantly thriving and striving for bigger and better. And he's often saying to me, okay, when is this going to stop? And I'm like, it's never going to stop. So, you know, that's who I am. I think I've always been hungry for it. And a lot of people said, after you have a baby, that'll change. And it's not. It's not change. Well, he's amazing and I love him to death, but I'm still like, oh, I wonder if I could get in a drama, or you know, I'm still thriving for it. So yeah.
And how did you find that transition between theatre and TV? Like, because it's quite a big change.
Huge change. Yeah, so like I said, I had classes and everything, which was brilliant, but playing Dingle, I really didn't need to worry about that because she was an absolute character. So I was able to kind of be as characterful as I wanted with her. It was when I went on afterwards to do, I did a Jimmy McGovern drama. I played a very small role in it, but then it was then that I looked, it was with Olivia Colman. And I happened to spend a lot of time with her, watching her, studying her as she worked with me. And there was one scene that we had. I didn't have any lines in the scene, but it was all about her. But she was telling me about a dress that she just bought for the BAFTAs or the NTAs or something. And she was just sat there going, "Oh my God, it's full of sequins. It's amazing. It's so sparkly." And the director went, "Okay, Olivia, you ready?" And she went, "Uh-huh." And she looked at me, she went, "Wait till I tell you what blah, blah, blah." She was talking about it. And he went, "Action." And I kid you not, she just turned and cried. And I was watching this masterpiece. I don't know how she did it. And I remember it to this day. Just this, there was no airs and graces about her. She was amazing. And she just was chatting. And then she just turned it on and did the most powerful, amazing scene where she sobbed, and I was like, "Oh my God, I want to learn from you and be you. You're amazing." And it was then that I kind of thought, okay, she's someone I look up to. I want to, you know, that's where I want to get to, you know.
And kind of in terms of like, you know, the way the process of theatre is a lot different to TV. I'm very much a theatre background, and I don't know much about TV. But is there a lot of differences in terms of like rehearsal processes and learning your material and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, in obviously, you know, in theatre, you have usually 3 to 4 weeks for a big musical for rehearsals, and then you've got a week's tech where you know, you all go into the theatre and they try the lights and the cat and the costumes and all of that, and then you go on and do your performance, and then you start a run of 6 months or a year or whatever. With telly, with soaps, should I say, with soaps, you get your scripts on a Thursday and you start on Monday. And the amount of scripts you get, so in soaps, you get blocks of a block is 2 weeks, right? So you get a block of scripts, which is 2 weeks worth, which is 14 scripts. If you happen to be in a really heavy storyline, you could be in all 14 of those scripts. Or you might just be in 2, or you might be in 8 or 10. Whatever you were in, you've got from Thursday to Monday to read through them, right? Then you start on Monday with whatever scenes you're doing with whatever director. So in Corrie, you've got 4 different shoots happening at the same time in the building, right? So I'm probably explaining this really badly to people who understand, but you don't have any rehearsal. You just go on and do it. You just get a read through with the director. So you go into the Rovers and you stand around together, you read it through, and the director goes, okay, let's put some cameras on it. And the cameras will come round and pick out what places they want to be in. And then you do it. And you do it however many takes it takes to get it right. And sometimes in soap, that can be like, you can do 2 or 3 takes and you move on. Or you could do 10 takes and move on, you know? But when I say move on, you move on to the next scene and that's it. So you get your next script out and you look for your next scene and, right, okay, look through your words again. Because it's just constant. There's, in a theatre show, you learn your one script and that's it for the year. And with TV, it's just constant script changes every day, which I love. I love it.
Yeah, and kind of in terms of the, you know, when they say like, right, okay, let's go for it and put the cameras on it, are you just then able to go for it and see what happens? Do you have guidance through that, or?
Yeah, your director will direct you. Like, you know, in a normal scene, he'll come and say, okay, start here, here's your mark, you know. And if you're new to telly, I was like, what's a mark? Oh my god, what's a mark? And someone from the crew came over and he went, it's a marker on the floor. It's like a little well, sometimes they use sticky tape and they put a little cross on, or sometimes they put a little sandbag down on the floor, like a little patch thing. And I was like, okay. And it's like learning the lingo as well, all the lingo that you've got to learn. And yeah, so it's incredibly different, you know, it really is.
Yeah, and then you went on to Dancing on Ice.
Yeah.
Which is a complete change of scenery, isn't it?
Yeah, that was, I'd left Emmerdale in 2007 and I went and did the Rocky Horror Show. And then after that, I did Shameless on telly and the Jimmy McGovern drama that I was telling you about. And then I got asked if I wanted to do Dancing on Ice. Now, I'd been asking if I could do Dancing on Ice for the 2 years I was in Emmerdale. Every year I was like, can I be chosen? Please, can I be picked? And I never got chosen. So, you know, 5 years down the line, 2010, and they asked me if I wanted to do it. And I was like, are you kidding? Yes. It was the best job ever. It was amazing.
And how did you find all that? Like, I mean, ice skating and dancing is like a hell of a lot different to just dancing on a stage, you know?
Yeah, I mean, oh God, I knew I had to be fit enough for it. So I did, you know, I went and worked out. I went to the gym, joined a gym beforehand because I wasn't I had not danced in years. You know, my legs didn't do very much at that point. And I knew if I had to do Dancing on Ice, I needed to be able to be flexible again and dance again. So I went to the gym and I trained really hard, and got my flexibility back. And yeah, then I started the process, and I started in the October, and I won the show in the January, and then you go on tour. Oh, February, and then you go on tour. So it was a 6 month job basically, of broken limbs and cracked ribs and torn hamstrings and every injury you can think of, you get pretty much on that show. But I wouldn't change it for the world. It was a dream job.
And then obviously you're then kind of back to normality in sense of back to doing, you know, TV and theatre again. And I guess that, did you find that kind of difficult in terms of managing now your transitions between, okay, so I'm on TV now for this, you know, job, and then all of a sudden you're in a musical again and you're like, oh God, that, you know, it's completely different. And how do you manage that and make sure that you know what you need to do for each job?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't massively think about it that much. I think it's because I started in theatre. So if I'd have never done any theatre whatsoever and only done telly and then was thrust into theatre, I think I would find that really terrifying. But because I started in theatre, went into telly, and then went back into theatre and did more musicals, when you do that and you've been on TV, a lot of people go, they don't know me from musical theatre beforehand, and every show I've done, there's always been, you just know that people are questioning, can she do it, can she sing, can she play Roxy Hart, what has she done before, has she ever, there was a lot of that. I always had a lot of that, but it was always really nice for me, just for me to know I started in theatre, so I can do it, but it makes it, the older I've got, it's made it more nerve-wracking. And I think the less theatre I've done, and then the more telly I've done, when I go to do theatre now, I'm terrified of kind of messing up or not hitting the notes as good as somebody else could, or I kind of, the last musical I did was Thoroughly Modern Millie. Oh my God, that was like a dream role for me to play. I had an absolute ball. What an amazing cast we had for that show. But the fear, because I was older and not done a show for a while, the fear was like, oh, can I do it? Oh my God. And again, I went and got classes and lessons and trained my voice to be in tip top shape, and that's what you've got to do. It's about keeping on top of your game all the time. And yeah, I try to do that.
And how is, like, you know, there's, like you were saying about kind of the stage fright and the nervousness, like, what is the difference from, you know, on TV, it's all recorded, and I mean, I don't know whether you know, you think it's your best take or whatever, you know, there's probably some that you think,
Well, if you do a rubbish take, you afterwards you can usually go, oh my God, that I really messed that up. Can we just do one more? And if there's time, then yeah, you can do another take. But you can't do that in theatre. It's just
no,
you on the stage.
yeah.
The older I've got, the more I mess up. So I don't know. Actually, saying that, I've kind of, it's just sometimes my brain just starts thinking about egg and chips or something. Do you know what I mean? And I'm singing, and then I've gone. And so I'm halfway through singing, the name on everybody's lips is gonna be Roxy, egg and chips. Da 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 da, and it's gone, and I just had to make it up and just la for a bit. And all of the ensemble behind me were peeing their pants laughing because I'd done that. And that happens every now and again to me. When you're doing telly, that just doesn't matter because you can just stop and pick it up again. But yeah, trying to keep my my brain in focus, I have to really work hard at that now.
And then kind of is the
again after telling everyone this.
And then, like, you know, I guess how on stage you get like the pre-show nerves and you get a bit nervous before you go on stage. On TV, is that like, does that happen before it goes live? Does that, or is that more of a, like, when you're shooting the thing?
It's a lot less nerve-wracking on doing telly. I still get I do the rehearsal, the read through with the cameras and everything, and I'm, great, and I know all my lines, and I'm like, yep, this is fine. And then I'm in my place, and the director goes, and suddenly there's this kind of rush of, oh, it's now, and they go action, and I don't know what it is, because you just do the same as what you've done all the time, but there's still that wave of nervousness that hits me when I hear the word action. But let me tell you, it is nowhere near what it's like for me in theatre. Every single time in Thoroughly Modern Millie, where the overture happened, there was just me that started on stage on my own. So the curtain will go up and it's just me. I cannot tell you. The ensemble used to stand side of stage in the wings and do really stupid dances to keep me entertained so I wouldn't feel nervous. It's ridiculous. I get the worst nerves. My legs turn to jelly. I feel like my voice starts quivering. And then I turn around, I face the audience, and it's like it goes. I don't know what it is. I close my eyes and I'm in my own little bubble and I just sing. And then I know I'm in my happy place, you know? But
Yeah.
at that point, every single night, it never stopped in Thoroughly Modern Millie. Those nerves never went away.
And then I guess, you know, when you're on stage, there's not really a chance that you ever watch yourself back. And, you know, you can kind of record yourself and listen to yourself back, but you can never watch yourself back and go, oh, I could do better on that bit. Whereas on TV, you know, it's live. Do you find that you watch yourself back and kind of learn from what you do, or do you just kind of put it to one side and go, that's done, here's what, you know, your own mental notes of what you need to do?
I absolutely watch everything back and I learn so much from doing that. Not everyone likes to do that, but for me, if I watch myself back and I pull a really stupid face when I do something and I think, what? And it's happened numerous times. What the? Why are you pulling that face? What's that face for? You know, or just little things like maybe I could have angled my body more to camera at that point and things that, because, you know, I came into telly at 27 and if I'd have come into it at 19, I would have maybe learned a bit more. So I'm constantly learning. And I think that's one thing in this industry for me, especially when I teach and I coach, I tell students, you never ever stop learning in this business. Never. You know, I can learn from the 19-year-old that is my understudy in Thoroughly Modern Millie. I can learn from her and she can learn from me. We can constantly learn from each other in this business. You're never at the top of your game. There is always going to be somebody better than you and somebody that you can learn something from. I'm passionate about that. What were we talking about? Because I've gone off on a tangent. I can't remember.
Watching yourself back on TV.
That's it. Yeah. So I learned from that a hell of a lot, but you can't do that in theatre unless somebody sneakily videos you from the audience. And recently, somebody's put up some stuff from Thoroughly Modern Millie, and it was put up on social media, and I was like, oh, somebody recorded a bit of it. And okay, that's not really allowed, but yay, I get to see it because I've never seen any of it. And it was just so wonderful to see what we'd done as a cast, you know.
Yeah.
And I was chuffed to bits actually with how I did it and how I sang, and you know, little 41-year-old me up on the stage trying to be a 22-year-old. I think I nailed it actually.
But that's the thing with, you know, with live theatre, you can never actually just sit back and be like, I've just done that, and watch yourself back. Whereas with TV, you know, it's kind of out there and it's there forever.
Yeah.
So you do have the ability to watch back and learn from it. So you know, there is pros and cons to both of them.
And when I do theatre, you know, even now, I still ask people, you know, cast members, oh, how do you do that with your voice? Like when you do this or you get to that note, how are you doing that? I'm learning all the time. And that's not because I'm rubbish or I just, why not? Why not learn?
You want to know why.
Why? If I'm not a dancer anymore, but if I see somebody do something that I want to learn, I ask them to teach it me so I can learn it, you know. Or if I see a fantastic actor or comedy actor, I love comedy, you know, I watch them and I study them and I think that's brilliant, or that's, you know. And the same goes for teaching and stuff. I love directing, I love teaching, I love helping people with self tapes, you know, stuff I think I'm good at doing. I love giving that back because I never had. No one helped me with any of this. When I was young and I wanted to learn telly stuff, or I wanted to, you know how to do a scene for screen or anything like that. I never got any help with that. So I really try hard now. When my friends come to me or in lessons, when people go, I want to learn how to act for screen, or can you help me with a self tape? I'm like, yes, 100%. Because now I know how to do these things.
Yeah.
I want to give it back to the younger generation who are up and coming, you know. And sometimes I see show reels that people have done or self tapes that people have done, and they're not right. They're not good. And I want to go, oh my God, I need to do a class where I can show you exactly how to create your show reel, what to do in a self tape, you know, all those things. And I love doing that. I love teaching that stuff.
And I think that, you know, I learned this from one of my teachers at college, and it was about sharing what you have, and like, you know, because even if that might not get you the job, but it might get someone else the job, and your time will always come, and they might help you back, or somebody else might help you, and then you might get the job. And
well, the perfect example of that, what you've just said, is recently, me and my friend were both up for the same TV show, different parts. I didn't get the part I went for, went to somebody else who's brilliant. And she asked me if I would do her tape with her self tape. And so I did. And we sent the tape off, and her agent rang her and said, "Who did your tape with you?" And I was thinking she was going to go, "Because it's rubbish." And she said, "The casting director has said your tape was brilliant. They're not going to give you this small role in this drama. They would like you to retape for a bigger role in a completely different drama." And her agent said, "Go back to Hayley and do your tape with Hayley." So she came back, and we did a huge self tape. She had so much dialogue, and I directed her with it, and we did a really, really good tape. We got it down really, really good, and she got the part. So, you know, she's kudos to her because she's an amazing actress, but also pat on the back for me a little bit because I love doing that stuff, and I did it for someone, and she got the job, and that, you know, that just goes to show. Well, I guess I know my stuff when it comes to taping and stuff. You know?
yeah, and you know, and you then have to say that it's kind of your success as well in your own little world, because
Yeah,
you know, you're happy that you've helped somebody get that job, and
100%. And there needs to be more of that. There needs to be more of, you know, actors raising other actors. You know, all right, I'm in competition with some other girls that look like me for whatever job, but you know what? If that other girl gets the job, good for her, because we are all in this together. We're all struggling actors or working actors. You know, we're all doing the same thing, and we should be championing each other. Can't say that word. Championing each other. Right, raising each other up, not tearing each other down. It's really, really important that we do that all the time in this
yeah,
business. It really is.
of course. So kind of as we start to like round up, what for people who are like graduating from school, whether that's on a musical theatre course or an acting course, what kind of advice can you give to you know, fresh graduates who are going into the industry, who, you know, may be certain on what they want to do but may not have no idea where they kind of see themselves going?
Well, first of all, I would say get an agent. That's a really important thing. Then people say to me, "But how do I get an agent if I've not done anything? How do I do that?" So there are now ways of getting one scene on a show reel. If you just want to act and you want to be an actor, there are people like my friend Leon Lopez, who is a director now but has his own show reel company. You can go to him, have one scene done, and that can be your reel for now. You don't have to pay a fortune for it. Casting directors just want to see you act. That's all they care about. And the same with an agent. Getting an agent, they can spot talent a mile away, right? So get one scene done as a reel. If you can afford to get two done, great, get two done. If you want to sing, the same thing. Get yourself taped singing something beautiful that shows you off, and that you can send to an agent if you've got no other footage. It's a graft. It's working hard at it. And I would just say, choose carefully. You don't have to head for the massive, great big agents straight away when you come out of college. There are some brilliant smaller agents, boutique agencies that have some great clients and have some great contact. You know, I was told when I first left, one of the agents I saw said, you need to pick a route. What do you want to do? Do you want to do theatre or telly? And I said, I want to do it all. You can't do it all. Pick a route. And I never really got that. I didn't understand why I needed to choose a route. Now I do. I get it now. But if you're like me and you want to do it all, don't hold back. Just tell the agent that you're emailing to, this is what I'm good at. This is what I want to do. I would love it if you would see me for a chat and I could talk things through with you. Here's a scene. Here's a clip of me singing. I hope this is enough until I can get some work, you know. And it's a matter again of writing an email. Don't write them 2 pages. They've not got time. No one's got time to read a 2-page email from you telling them what you had for breakfast and what was the last show you saw. You know, it's just really quick and short. This is what I want to do. I would love it if I could meet you for a chat. This is my reel. Get yourself on Spotlight. That's really, really important, is to get yourself on Spotlight. And I know these things cost money, but get yourself on Spotlight. Am I talking too long? I'm running out of time. No,
we're all right. We're all right.
Spotlight's really, really important because it's where everybody goes, you know. So yeah, get yourself on Spotlight. Spotlight are also a brilliant help if you need advice. I rang them when I was first starting out. If you want help with agents or anything like that, do that. And also there's loads of information that they can give you on the right casting directors to email if that's what you're doing, or the right agents to email. You can ask me if you want to tweet me. I will always be happy to help. And yeah, I think it's just about, just ask. Don't be afraid to not ask questions. This industry is all about that. You don't get if you don't ask. So just ask.
Fabulous. And all the kind of ways of contacting you are down below in the description on YouTube. But do you do, you know, what kind of classes do you offer for anyone who's interested in, you know, taking, if you do any classes or one-to-ones or kind of anything like that? Do you have anything that you kind of have?
Well, I was going to start this up online. And you know, the reason why I haven't is because people like yourselves and a lot of other people have asked me to do it for them or come on and do question and answers. And so that's kind of taken over. And I also have a 1-year-old, so I haven't had the time to do it. But maybe if the interest is there, then at some point I will set up a, you know, I don't know how I'll do it, but I will set something up where I can talk to people and maybe help people with self-tapes. Especially for me, it's helping the younger generation understand this industry, understand how to email an agent, how to get your show reel done, you know, all those things, those questions that you want to, that you don't know the answers to. That's what I want to help people with. So yeah, maybe there is something I can do online at some point to achieve that and help people out. Definitely.
Well, I guess if it comes out, it will all be on your social media, which everyone can follow you on, and that's all down below in the description. But yeah, I mean, thank you for kind of sharing all of that, and
oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, sharing all your kind of information and answers to things. But yeah, it's been lovely to chat with you.
And you, I hope it can help, you know, because that's the main thing, is kind of, you know, I'm in my 40s now and I kind of know what I'm doing, but the younger generation that are coming into this blind, so to speak, it's them that I want to help.
Yeah,
and so hopefully, you know, it can help. If one person I can help, and that's achievable, that's great.
Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday.
Take care.
Thank you. You too. See you later. Bye. Thank you so much, guys, for coming onto the stream and watching our Q&A. You can also catch up on every session that's been in the past month. So if you have missed out on anything, or if you have just joined us, then you can watch all this back as well. But thank you so much for coming on, and we will be back tomorrow for a happy Friday, and I will see you all soon.